Lazarus Planet has another one-shot, this time called Legends Reborn. Thus far, I expressed how much I've been really liking these Lazarus Planet covers, and that doesn't stop here. I think Raven, Beast Boy, and Nightwing really draw focus, but Firestorm and Renee Montoya are also down there, as is Trigon behind everybody. Also, like before, this comic has multiple stories. One on Raven, one on Nightwing, one on Renee Montoya, and one on Firestorm. The first one starts off with Renee Montoya, who's the police commissioner at the moment. She's struggling to do her job, telling other officers they have to do their job and put in work, despite the fact that, the world is technically ending. Along with us, the readers are being told that a plane of kids on vacation crashed in Gotham, and all of them died, which really hits Renee hard. They then talking about some murderer, who they suspected to be a man named Ellroy, who managed to get off because there wasn't enough evidence. Renee snaps at these two officers, telling them that right now all hell's breaking loose. Their suspect is now missing, and the mayor is now wanting to talk to Renee. Renee just tells the officers to deal with the murderer on their own, because right now she has to go talk with the mayor, since the Lazarus storm is impacting the city very, very much. Later on, we see Renee driving in the storm with the narration about how sometimes she forgets that this world that she lives in isn't exactly normal, and that she herself isn't exactly normal, with her being a superhero. She ends up getting called in because they found another body of Ellroy's murders. And that's at a parking lot, which this time the body is a little different. You see, last time they would find the body still intact. This time, it's been partly eaten, which for obvious reasons stuns Renee. Renee sees this isn't a job for the police commissioner, and Batman isn't here to help, because he's over and doing his own thing in the other one-shots. Meaning it's up to Renee now as the question. Knowing that this rain is somehow making all hands-on-deck situations become even worse and worse. And being a good detective, she figures out that whoever killed and ate the previous kid is most likely the same person who killed the other bodies, who she knows is Ellroy. So as the question, she breaks into his apartment looking if she can find him, but he's not there. But she does find something. That is a storage unit key. She ends up going to where this storage unit key goes to, that being a storage unit. When she opens it, she finds a slew of dead bodies, and some living people who are crying out for help. It turns out Ellroy has been turned into some weird mangle creature who eats human flesh, and the monster attacks her. She distracts him in order for the kids to get away, but one stays back to electrocute the monster in the back with some torture device Ellroy had in his unit. The story ends with Renee back at work, being told everything she already knows about her alter ego having saved the kids and stopped Ellroy. But now, while it was a win, they still need to deal with the storm, because Ellroy wasn't the only person affected by this. We start our next story about Beast Boy and Raven being in Destroy City after Raven felt something from the storm, something that started to trigger her, which is most likely caused because she is a magic user, most of whom have been captured except for her, Zaton, and a couple others. Beast Boy is still wearing his eye patch from Dark Crisis, and they find a man who seems to still be alive. But he doesn't have the second half of him. He's going to die, for pretty obvious reasons. But Raven uses her powers to put his mind at ease, making him think of his dog as he passes away without pain. They walk around and see a group of police officers surrounding a church, with us being told that they're here because of demon children who Raven could feel after Trigon tried to get her. This causes her to be afraid for these demon children because, Trigon will go after her, so Trigon obviously is going to go after them. Raven tries to go in to talk to the kids alone without Beast Boy, who stands guard. Raven goes into the church looking for the kids to find them practically assaulting a priest, wanting to him for help. But he can't. The boys are deformed as demons. Raven does manage to save the priest and tells the boys that they can't exactly do this, and that she can help. They all explain that they were affected by the rain and transformed them into demons when they were playing basketball. Raven shows them her true form, to show that they're not alone, that she herself is part demon. And she does manage to bring two of the three demons aside where they find a scene which they didn't see coming. You see, Beast Boy has murdered all the cops brutally. Only for the twist, and that is, this was never Beast Boy. Beast Boy was never even here. This the entire time was Trigon, who wanted Raven to lead him to them. And afterwards, he recruits the demon who refused to go with Raven, who's named Liam, while Raven herself, we see, is drifting in some dark space with the other two demons. And that's it. Next we get a young man who's coming to Gotham, where we see that he has different abilities. He can both echolocate, and he also can phase through different objects. He uses these abilities to find a batarang most likely to sell, and that's when the storm starts. He gets hit by lightning, and it seems to have given him a power upgrade. But it also gave an upgrade to a nearby pile of garbage, bringing it to life. Nightwing is actually watching all this, which is just absolute madness. So he's of course very confused. The young man uses his abilities to fall through the ground into the sewer. But then we see this pile of trash is actually bad and starts to actually try to drown him. Nightwing was nearby, so he saw everything and he jumps in to save him. But that's when he starts to have visions of a woman's life after touching the crown down there that he was looking for, including her time in prison. The man gets the crown and says he doesn't regret anything, despite the fact that Nightwing had to save him. And in all honesty, if I had to almost drown to get a batarang, I would too. Maybe not the crown, though. Afterwards, this young man goes to see this woman who is now an old woman, and he gives her the crown. Afterwards, he goes out and he's found by Nightwing, who says he likes knowing that he has a soul. But while he does, he also still has a little of the devil in him, because he's not giving back the batarang, nor is he giving up his life of crime. Well, crime-ish, because he doesn't really seem like he's committing that much crime. He's really just occasionally stealing stuff. But the batarang was literally just out on a lawn, so I wouldn't consider that stealing. Anyways, he leaves Dick there, and there is a promise at the end of the page saying that he will return. He isn't even named. Personally, I think this character is pretty interesting, but it would have been probably a better impression if he was, given an actual name. In the last story is about Firestorm. Ryan's upset because Stein lied to him about where his powers come from and doesn't trust him anymore. They're flying in the sky at the time of the storms, and they want to see what's up because, well, there are green storms. And that's when they randomly get separated from one another, with a huge boom. They end up on the ground, and Ronnie is perfectly fine. In fact, better than fine. But Stein, not so much. In fact, he's practically almost dead. He's still alive, but not well. A few days later, Star Labs is exploring this area where they went boom. Ronnie's talking to the head scientist and explaining everything that happened. That's when someone on site is attacked by some sort of black shadow man, and he starts killing the scientist. It's explained that this is a shadow demon that has somehow evolved. It was apparently brought through a rift that was caused by the Matrix explosion. And Ronnie has to merge with the head doctor to become Firestorm and to actually close the rift. But the shadow demon, attacks them as it, wants its own whole army of shadow demons. However, I will admit, I'm a little confused why Ronnie even tried to close the rift first, because he probably should have actually put the Shadow Demon through the rift, then close it. Luckily, though, he does end up doing that, but it's a little odd to think that, he wasn't going to at first. Instead, the Shadow Demon just walks around on Earth now. Anyways, when it's all said and done, Ronnie is forced to actually stay merged with the head doctor. That's because when they try to separate, he almost dies. Because apparently now, anyone who merges with Ronnie is aging rapidly fast. And that's exactly what happened to Stein. Personally, I thought this issue was amazing. I really like the Raven story in particular. It showed how empathetic the character is, despite the fact that, she is part demon. It also references the character's roots, because when the character was first brought into comics, she was actually just an empath. An ability she actually uses here. Also, the Trigon twist at the end I did not see coming. And it does kind of creep you out a little bit, considering the fact that Beast Boy typically is flirty with Raven, and Trigon pretended to be Beast Boy. I am curious, though, where Raven was at the end, because we just see them in some weird black space. I'm going to presume she's going to get out, because, she's Raven. I'm just curious what happened there, because we didn't really see what happened between Trigon revealing himself to Raven and what he did between that and when he actually went to Liam and offered him to work together. But whatever happened, I personally am really excited because like I said, I really like Raven as a character. For the Firestorm story, I thought it was actually really good, but I will admit I'm a little confused why they brought in some random doctor to merge with Ronnie, because Ronnie in the comics has merged with many different people before. And one of whom was Jason, a character I really liked. And I personally would have much rather had a story about Jason and Ronnie, becoming Firestorms together once again, rather than have Firestorm be Ronnie merging with some random doctor. The story itself is good, the structure itself is good, just the concept is a little weird to me. The Nightwing story I thought was actually also really good. I like seeing the fact that the character was trying to talk to this guy about maybe you should be a better person. And instead, he was like, well, I like who I am. I'm not a bad person. I'm not a good person. But I thought it was very much in character for Dick Grayson to at least make an attempt. Instead of, just like beating the crap out of him. And for that guy, I personally think he's an okay character. But like I said, I think if you had given him a name, he probably would have been a much better and memorable character, considering the fact this is his first impression. And his first impression doesn't have him with an actual name. But his powers are actually pretty cool. Not exactly simple, but in my opinion, were still pretty cool. And not exactly simple, but not confusing either. And I actually really like Renee Montoya's story. I like the idea that she sees that there are some times that she needs to be a cop, and sometimes she needs to be a superhero. And the fact that she was willing to sacrifice her life for those kids, I thought showed that the character is very heroic. Renee is a character I personally have always really liked, and I like the fact that she's becoming the question once again. As to be honest, I think that she's probably my favorite question in all of canon, with there having been 3. There's Vic Sage, Renee Montoya, and that random third one that was kind of a demon, but also a good guy too. It was from the whole Trinity Sin comics where they had brought in a new question who was neither Renee or Vic. I like Vic too, but Renee, in my opinion, is the best. And that's it. Like always, please subscribe, like, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.